Welcome to the third episode of Bum and Bummer. I'm back with Preston and Aaron, and today we'll be discussing the recent news that the Knicks will pursue a stretch forward in the 2020 offseason. So the question I have for you guys is, who are the best options for the Knicks to fill this need, either in the draft or through free agency?
Hey everyone. So I think that over the past few years, offensively, the Knicks have looked pretty congested and have been unable to effectively spread the floor. So I think that a stretch forward is essential to them becoming a contender in the East. And I think that the draft or free agency are definitely good ways to get one. I think that some good options, if they want to go the free agency route, are Danilo Gallinari and Christian Wood. Because one, Gallinari is an ex-Knick, and he still can score with ease, has a consistent jumper, and shoots a good percentage. So he would, I think, fit the system pretty well. And Wood is a very young talent who actually was in the midst of a breakout season this year with the Pistons, where he was averaging 24 points a game on 57% shooting over the last 10 games of the season. So it will be interesting to see what he wants contract-wise, but if the Knicks can get him on a reasonable deal, I think he would be a good choice also if they went the free agency way.
Yeah, I think I'd probably have to agree with Preston that the Knicks have struggled shooting-wise for the past couple of years. You know, they have a bunch of young talent with R.J. Barrett, Knox, Mitchell Robinson, and Ntilikina. But besides Knox, who's very raw and very young, none of them can really shoot. So they definitely could use someone to take the pressure off of R.J. Barrett and Mitchell Robinson playing that two-man game, pick and roll. So I think that a stretch four can definitely be useful for them. Like Preston said, I think one of the guys that they could definitely be a great add for the Knicks would be Danilo Gallinari. You know, he's I believe he's 31 or 32. He has a wealth of experience. He's played on the Knicks before, and he's still shooting over 40% from three. So he definitely would be a great add for them. Obviously, they would try to get him on a shorter-term contract because he might or might not pan out well just because of his age. But besides him just coming in and shooting the lights out, hopefully, he'd be able to provide a wealth of advice and experience to the younger guys that could be very useful towards their development. Another guy that I think the Knicks could potentially go after is Serge Ibaka. Now, I know that he's would probably be much more expensive and may not be willing to come to the Knicks. I think that he could be a great add if they're able to snatch him in free agency. He's only 30 years old. He is more of he's pretty similar to Gallinari, but Gallinari is more on the small forward versus Ibaka, who leans more towards the power forward. You know, Ibaka has made his game so much better in the past few years. He's become a much better shooter. He used to, on the OKC Thunder, he was really only a blocker and an inside player, but now he can shoot so much better, so he could definitely be someone that they could go after as well.
Yeah, and so to go off that, I think that's another good option in free agency. But if the Knicks wanted to go the draft way, they've got 2 picks in the first round. They've got a lottery pick and then a late first rounder and an early second rounder on top of that. So I would not be surprised if the Knicks went after a stretch four with either of those picks. But with the lottery pick, I think it honestly depends on if LaMelo Ball is on the board when the Knicks are up to pick, because I think that he is the best option for the team. And I think he can play in New York, and he would be very well. He would fit really well with RJ, Mitch, and Knox. So I think that they should go for someone in the late first round. Maybe a character like Jalen Smith from Maryland, I think would be a really good fit for them. But yeah, so the draft is definitely a good option for them.
Yeah, I do really like that Jalen Green pick. He's lanky. He can shoot. He's big. Could be a great ad. Someone who isn't necessarily a stretch four that I definitely think the Knicks should go after in free agency, though, is Fred VanVleet. He's made crazy moves in the past few years. He was he had an incredible performance in the Raptors championship run in the 2019-2020 season last year. He proved that he was a top-notch backup to Kyle Lowry, and proved that he might be prone to be able to hop into a starting role. I think he'd be a great complement to RJ Barrett and Frank Ntilikina, and they could mix and match with those three guards. Fred VanVleet being more of a shooter and being able to play pretty solid defense. RJ Barrett being a driver and improving on his shot and a pretty good defender. And then Ntilikina still working on a shot and is also a great defender. So I think the three of them could make a really, really nice combo. And then obviously this is, I wouldn't say a hot take, but this is very, very far reaching. But if the New Orleans Pelicans were willing to part with Brandon Ingram, that could be a great pick for the Knicks. But
yeah, I really don't.
Yeah,
think that's not happening.
Obviously, it's not.
They would be fools to let him walk. That they would be fools.
Right, because they've got Zion, they've got Lonzo, they've got Josh Hart, they've got a really nice young core that they
I
can
wouldn't
build
break
around.
anything up
So
with that
I don't
team.
think they're going to break
Nothing.
up anything. But if they do, the Knicks should definitely snatch him if they can. But I doubt that they're going to be willing to part with him.
Yeah, I think Fred was a good pick, though. And I think that the Knicks have room to sign people because I think it's unlikely they're going to pick up Bobby Portis's like $16 million option.
Right.
Which is going to give them a lot of room salary-wise and roster space. Also, I saw the Knicks are willing to they're open to shopping Julius Randle, which I'm all for, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I think that he had a very disappointing season. And so that opens up the position of the four. So I think that the stretch four would be really smart there, and it would help with just spreading the floor offensively and would take away all that congestion in the paint and honestly give more room for Mitch to work too.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they could get a nice little pick and roll game going. So yeah, I think that would be that's the ideal scenario for the Knicks.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they definitely do need to cut off some of that extra fat that they have with guys like Portis and Randall, who they're paying big time. I think one final guy that I think could be a steal is Jeremy Grant. He's currently with the Nuggets. They've got a lot of guys. They've been really smart in free agency. They've kept their core together with Jamal Murray and
they've
Gary
had a lot of
Harris,
nice small add-ons.
Jokic.
A lot of nice.
They
small
got
add-ons.
Michael Porter Jr., but they're getting pretty congested with their guys, and they're going to have a lot of commitments that they're going to want to re-sign. And I think Jeremy Grant is someone that they might be willing to part with. He is a versatile big man, very athletic. He does shoot over 40% from three, and he's only getting paid $9 million a year, and I think the Knicks could get him for even cheaper, probably around the $7-8 million range if they're lucky. And that type of guy is versatile and could be a great ad, help stretch the floor, help Mitch with rebounding, take a little bit of pressure off of him, so that he doesn't get into foul trouble.
Yeah, so I think that the Knicks have a lot of viable options for this stretch four, and I think adding a player with a different skill set to the front court is key for them becoming competitive in the Eastern Conference.